Hi, we're back. This is William. He's going to join us today. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much.
Glad to be here.
What we've done so far is basically run through all the stuff we do with everybody, with our floaters and our sinkers, and we've shown the difference between the two. At this point in time, we usually split out just a little because there's some things that sinkers need to know that are a little different than floaters need to know at this stage in the game. So we're going to do a few things that we'll do with both sinkers and floaters, and then we're going to break some stuff out that we only do with sinkers at this point in time. And then we'll show you that. So, reminder, we've learned it so far. The big push we've done is to be comfortable sinking, and you've got that down very nicely, right? Different than before.
Yes.
We've talked about how your air changes, how quickly you go up and down. If you remember dropping, if you drop down straight, we've talked about how that's your worst float or your fastest sink, either way. And if you lay in the water, and you notice that the last couple of weeks with the big group that we had, whereas they lay in the water and they put more surface area in the water, they sink slower. We talked about propulsion, and we're going to talk a bunch about propulsion today in the next couple of pieces in the series. So what I want to do is say the next thing we do is talk about how to use propulsion to get something we haven't done so far, which is air. And I guess we did a tiny bit before with some bobs, but I want to do it again and just remind you of it. I'll tell you too that by this point in time, we have a good feel for the sinkers and what they need and what they're going to be comfortable with in most cases. So we'll adjust these based on each individual person. But in this case, I'm just going to run through an order of things, and for some of these, you can just kind of pick and choose what order you want to do them in and how you like them. So we're going to start with bobs, the real easy bobs. We're just going to drop down a tiny bit, put our face in the water, blow out, come back up and breathe. We did this once before a little earlier, but I want to see it. I want you to see it in context of the progression that we have. So if you'll step back a tiny bit so we'll look prettier on the camera, and I'll get out of your way. We're just going to go, William's just going to go down under, come back up, take a breath, go down under, come back up. Let's scoot forward a little if you will. Good, that's nice. How's that feel? How's that feel, sir?
Feels good.
All right.
There's a lot of current underneath.
There's a lot of current here. We got 4 jets blowing at us at the same time. So if you see us drifting off, it's the jets. You come up, there's no tiredness, nothing. When we first did this, you were holding your breath all the time, like everybody.
Right.
And you'd come up, and it was a lot easier to be winded. This is a whole lot more like breath on air. And again, that's what we're going for. So beautiful. Thank you for that. So that's the first thing. The next thing we do for sinkers is we sit back a little bit like we're sitting in a chair, and we put our hands out. And remember this pull that we've used multiple times, and you saw it with the group. It just moves you along the water. Now, instead of propelling us forward, we're going to use that pull to propel us up. Because if we're pushing down, it's going to push us up. And guess what happens when we come up? We get to have air. So it's a really cool thing. So that's the first thing we're going to do. And this is like sitting in a chair. You'll see it pushing down, coming up, get your breath. If you need to, stop and stand. If you can come up, grab your breath as you drop back in, feel free to do that as well. But we're still using our feet at the moment just to keep us in place, just to get used to this breath. And the next thing we'll do is a little bigger. So, if you will, William. Scoot you up because we're almost at the camera lane. That's right. It's really blowing him back. So this is a struggle. So Williams early on, you see him pushing down. He's trying to get up, and he right now doesn't have quite the propulsion to get him up. He's stretched out a long way, which means it's easier for him than straight up and down pushing. But I want to show you the straight up and down push piece as well. So let's do that. It'll be a tiny bit out of order, but just kind of drop in straight, push yourself up, even knees on the bottom if you need to. There it is. Good. sir. Pretty. That's good. And we're just going to be blown out of range again with these jets. So you see him pushing up. You see it's taking a fair amount of power for him to do it. Because he's blowing so much on the jet, we may just go ahead and sit on the bottom, and that'll be as easy. Sit on the bottom. Make sure when you do this, I'll just remind you, reach up as high as you can to do your push down and to come up and start, step up about a foot, and I think we'll be good. All right. And so now he's just going to sit on the bottom, and this is something I love to do with sinkers because they're the only ones who can really do this. There's some air out. Big push up, and now he's got his feet underneath him, which is fine. It keeps him from blowing out of the camera. Thank you for that. Good, good. Thank you, sir. That looks good. So you get a sense that you're beginning to be able to pull yourself up, and that gets more and more comfortable. The first week you were doing that, you just thought you were going to drown because you weren't going to get up. Now you're getting up, your face out of the water, and it's no more effort. You're just more efficient with your effort and know how to play it. So don't think it's going to happen the first time. Don't think this is a 5-minute deal for you. If you're a sinker, and this man certainly is, it takes more energy than it does if you're on the edge of sinking and you got a little float with you. Makes a difference how much air you've got in your lungs as well. One of the things that happens for sinkers is obviously they sink more, and it takes more energy for them to come up than somebody who floats. The good thing about that, if there's a good thing, is sinkers rather enjoy expending energy. You only ride and bike and run and go to the gym, and he just loves this energy, and most of the sinkers like using energy. So this becomes, at first, it becomes a real big exercise, you thought initially, right? And then it becomes something that you control, and it's still exercise, but most sinkers really enjoy this effort, so I hope you do. And just play with that one until you get air. Now, the other thing that we teach sinkers that we don't usually teach floaters is what we call sculling. So I start just by going like this. So if you'll do this one with me, we're just moving our hands across, and you see our arms are staying pretty stiff and level, and we're moving in and out, but there's just no movement here. What we're going to do is turn our hands up about 45 degrees, technically 25 to 35 degrees, but think 45 degrees. We're going to pull in with our thumbs up, we're going to pull out with our thumbs down. The big thing is that you don't open up 90 degrees, you don't stay flat. You want to stay somewhere in the middle, and you want to watch your hands. And I tell people all the time, when I was first learning this, because I learned a different way to scull, when I was first learning how to do it this way, I was doing this all over the place, and watching my hands to make sure I don't see my palms, I don't lose my thumbs, just making sure it's here, and just the simple movement. The biggest movement in this is the slight twist of your arm here, and that's beautifully done. Now if you'll watch, when he comes back in, his thumb's all the way up here at the top, but he gets a little towards 90, and the goal is just keeping it at 45. But I did this all the time, and one day I was in Starbucks standing in line, and I was doing this in line, and I thought, oh, maybe this isn't the place to be doing this. So this is the motion that you want. You want everything to be level, you want it to be smooth. If you do this really slow, same as anything else, you have no power. I show it this way. Some of the best swimmers I know like to do this really big, expansive scull back and forth while they're underwater. And the goal here is to lift you up. This becomes airplane wing going both ways that's got some lift in it. And at first you don't trust it, right? And at first it's kind of hard, but after a little bit you start to get the hang of it. And this is about practice and time in the water. I've had a handful of people get this fast. This is one of those things that takes people a little longer to do. But we're going to show you how we play with this. So in shallow water, for sinkers, we just sit on the bottom and we see if by doing the scull we can lift ourselves up. Eventually this is more than lift. Eventually this helps us not go down as far. It gives us a lot of control in the water. This takes a while to learn, so don't expect to do it in 5 minutes. If you get it in 5 minutes, good on you. But if you don't, then that's like most of the rest of us are. Okay, so So I'm going to sit with you, if you don't mind, on this one, and if you'll scoot back to center, we'll keep you better on camera, and I'll be out of the way, and we'll go down and skull up and down together, all right? See you there. Getting blown out of camera. That happens. How's it feeling?
I gotta remember to breathe.
It comes in handy and blowing out. But so when you started that, you would get on the bottom and you would move your hands around and nothing would happen, right?
Right.
But now, while you're doing that, you're actually staying off the bottom the whole time, even though you sit beautifully on the bottom. So you've got some power there that lifts you up, that keeps you from going down as low. That's what we're playing with on this skull. That's the beauty. I'll get out of the way, do just a couple more, we'll get a good picture, and I'll be off camera. Nice. Good. So, you see, it's taking him some energy. He's a strong guy. It drops him down, it's taking some energy. But from sitting on the floor day one to that's a huge change. And for you, there's a sense that, okay, this is doable. This is something that I can make and use and turn into something to help me.
Right, as long as I don't drink too much water.
As long as you don't drink too much water, that's right. So for this one, as always, this isn't about holding your breath as long as you can. You can blow some out as you go through here and come back up. Always get air before you need to. I was mentioning last week that one of the big pieces for sinkers, for anybody, is air, but it's more, it seems more relevant sometimes to sinkers because it's so easy to be under the water as opposed to be up top. And it takes more energy, so you can get a little more anxious about it than people who float better. So rule of thumb, get air before you need to, make sure it's at a safe, easy way to get to it. Standing up is a great way to breathe, right? Hanging onto the wall is a great way to breathe. If you're doing any of this and you're worried about it, have something around that helps you come up, get up safely, and go. So that's useful. That looks good. We'll show you some different ways to use that with Tony when we show him in camera. We've got some really cool things we can do with sculling there, and I think that's a good start.
Okay.
If you made it this far, thanks for watching. It's a YouTube channel. We're here, so there are a few things we need to say.
You should like and subscribe to keep up with us.
Ring the bell so you know when the next video comes out, and share with your friends.
If you've got comments, let us know. We will respond to your comments. We have merch down at the bottom. It's not anything as cool as this, but it's the newest versions of these things. And we have a lot of other social medias like
Facebook
and TikTok
And Instagram.
And we wish you years of comfort in the water.